Welcome back, gentlemen. Is fall not the best time of the year? Bringing in the firewood on the eve of what is supposed to be the first big storm. Snow level could come down to 3,600 feet, which means Fuji's going to be all covered in snow. So I'm a little anxious to get things in. This is not this year's firewood, but a portion of next year's. We're a year ahead, so this will be out to season. We have 3 species this year. Let's take a look at them. There they are. Who can tell me what we have here? Come on now. All right, so this here, this Jariah said was the unsplittable piece. That is the mark from the 80-ton, was it 80-ton Dyna? Could be more. I don't remember a lot, but he said this was tough. I thought, I wonder if our German friend could handle that right. We might have to try that here. So we have maple. So some maple, mix of maple, and of course the tree of my people, red fir, Doug fir, which is my favorite firewood. And, well, here comes the haters, ponderosa pine. I know, you burn what you have. The East Coast guy tells me, have you heard of maple? Yeah, I understand, yeah. If we had that, we would burn it, but we burn what we have. You know, so just because we don't have the hardwoods doesn't mean we shouldn't try to stay warm, right? It burns fine. You just have to burn a little bit more of it. But mixed in with the others, it's not too bad. All right, let's talk about this big boy. This is the Helco Work splitting axe made in Germany. A lot of you asked about this from the last video. I'm a big fan of splitting axes. I think I prefer that over traditional big wide mauls. Speaking of, every Husqvarna axe I've ever owned, the head has come in loose. Just consider that. But I've never had a head come loose on a Grand Force Brooks. So yeah, so I like that design, and that's what you have here. But it's a big, heavy monster. Now, what I like about the splitting axe is that the taper, you'll notice, is consistent. So when you slam it down, when it bites in the wood, it penetrates pretty deep and it has a nice pop at the end. Sometimes those big traditional mauls are so fat on the tip that they bounce, and I don't think that it's as effective for the particular type of wood that we cut. So but it's hard to find those. You know, splitting axes that's what was used back in the day. You know, interesting story, my old neighbor, who was a logger, used to deliver logs down to the mill, and he would watch the guys that would split wood for a living. Actually, my dad did this for a while. The paper mill had old wood-fired boilers, and high school guys would be out there and all day long just splitting firewood rounds into cords of split wood to feed those furnaces. And what they used was a big, heavy splitting axe. I have one of those, actually one of the ones that those guys used back from the day. And Henry, my neighbor, was so clever, he realized that those guys were out there using those axes out in the water, and they would drop them. And when an axe is dropped into the water, it'll go down, and the heavy metal head will sit like this, and the wood will kind of swell up and it'll hold them upright. So it can look like a forest of axes if you were to drop a bunch of them down there. Well, he came up with this clever post with kind of a wire with a loop on it, and he would drag across there and it would funnel them in, and those axes had big pronounced fawn's feet on the bottom, so they had a big palm swell there. He would hook them and pull them up, and he gave me one of those. But it's very similar to this design right here, but this is a completely different take on it. So rather than have a forged eye like we're used to, this uses a clamping mechanism. So you have these heavy-duty Torx bolts here that thread through the handle into the head. So these are 2 pieces. This here is just 1/8-inch steel plate that's armor for strike protection, which really covers it up. And the whole thing is basically an armor-plated splitting axe and a big, thick, heavy handle. Now, what's cool about this is if and when it loosens up because of humidity or whatever, you can tighten these up and always keep it tight. So it's kind of a cool design. And this is the second axe I have from this company, and they both held up. So it's kind of a new take on how to attach iron or forged steel to a wooden handle. You know, I mean, that's always been the greatest challenge known to man, how to do that safely and reliably. Because if you think about it, you know, we take for granted that men used to work with these tools in close proximity of each other. And if you had a group of men, whether they're pounding railroad spikes or they're splitting cordwood in a logging camp, if 8 pounds of steel comes loose at the end of a 3-foot shaft, it's going to cause damage if it hits someone. So that's always been a very important thing. You know, we take that for granted, but it's something that's plagued men for a long time. But the handle design is very interesting, and I wasn't sure about it at first. When I saw the big curve, I thought that's not going to work very well. I've done that before in the past, and it approached the wood at a weird angle, but it doesn't happen with this. What they did different, where I made mine curve down like this and it was wrong, the handle and the palm swell are still in line like it was straight. If you drew a straight line through here, you could see that. This arch like this, what it does is it really keeps the handle out of the wood, out of the round when you're splitting deep into a big round. So if you're splitting a big 5-foot round and you're reaching to the middle, sometimes, especially if you're standing downhill, you can strike that handle, and this arch has a nice radius to it, and it seems to prevent that. So I don't know if that was by design. Those Germans are pretty clever. It wouldn't surprise me. But a very nice tool. Of course, even they know that the best handle material is made from original hickory. It says right there. So United States hickory, they sourced it. So when a German company goes to the effort of importing the best wood handles, and you know, you kind of know what you're getting. So would I recommend it? Yes, it's been very good for me. Is it the best one out there? I don't know. I can't really say. I don't know what you're splitting and what you're up against. I know some of you guys that have some of those knotted hardwoods, things are like iron. So, you know, we don't have stuff like that here. But out here, a splitting axe reigns supreme.